Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Baking Masterclass. Carl, Master Baker of NLTG. Ella, my lovely daughter behind the camera. So we are today going to be making a Victoria sponge, and we're also going to be making another couple of items out of that mix. Now, bakers around the world will know this mix is a pound all round. Nice and easy to remember because all the ingredients in this weigh the same amount. 4 main ingredients. You can add flavourings to it, of course you can add colours to it. Please don't put a pound of colour into the pound mix. So it's going to be a pound of, or in this case, 225 grams of caster sugar, 225 grams of margarine or butter. I'm using margarine today because it's a lot easier to whip up and you get a bit more air into it, although you're not trying to get air into it massively. Butter takes a lot longer to beat up, but obviously you get a superior flavour with the butter. So entirely up to you which you use. I'm using a cake margarine, really perfect for cakes or something like that you can buy. There's sort of like stalks, that sort of thing. They're quite good, and they're designed for these cakes. Then we've got 225 grams of eggs and 225 grams of self-raising flour, and that is it. It's the same amount of ingredients. What I'd always recommend is the first thing you weigh are your eggs. Because you get big eggs, you get small eggs, you get anything in between. So there's 5 eggs there. It's just over 225. So I've weighed the eggs, it's come out at about 250-ish. So every other ingredient matches the weight of the eggs. So always weigh your eggs first, then weigh everything else to match it. And it's a quite simple mix to make. What we are going to make out of it, just to pan around to this side, is we are going to make some Victoria sponges. I'm going to use some good old Victoria sponge tins, cake tins. And I say old, these are probably about 40 or 50 years old, being used by nans and mums and, you know, anybody else. Love those. We're going to make, I'm going to call them fairy cakes, but we haven't got any fairy cake cases, so we are going to put them into a muffin tray and use muffin cases and make them a little bit bigger, but hey, how lovely 10 they are. And we're going to make, it's like a steamed pudding, but it's not steamed pudding. We're not going to steam it. Steamed puddings are absolutely fantastic. However, they can steam for 2-3 hours. We're going to use the moulds that we use of the day for our chocolate melting fondants. And we are going to bake these in the oven in a tray with a little bit of water in it so it doesn't burn the bottom, but I'll show you those bits in a bit once we've got the mix made. So, are we ready on? So, butter and sugar into your bowl first. Butter, margarine in this case. What I'd try and do if I was you, I'd try and let it come to a bit of room temperature. Obviously it's in the middle of winter, that'll be cold. And all I'm trying to do at the moment is just start mixing it together. Now, as you can see, obviously with the margarine, it's got a bit of colour in it. So it is yellow, and we want to get that a little bit white, and that will just come through beating it up. And I'm going to beat that up. And what we're trying today, or Ella's trying, she's got a camera out instead of a phone, and she's filming it on a camera. We haven't got the time-lapse facility, I don't believe, on this, so it might be you'll come back to me in a couple of minutes once I've done this, but as you can see I'm just beating. You don't want to see me doing that for a few minutes, so I'll see you in a few secs. So just before we mix, what I'm going to do is just get the bases ready. So all I'm going to do is going to use rather than getting all sorts of cutting out bits of parchment paper, I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. Get some margarine or butter and just stick it round the edge, make sure it covers the whole of the tin. I don't know if there's a bit too much in there. Same with the little moulds. If you remember when we did the chocolate puddings, if you've seen that one, the melting chocolate puddings that actually were absolutely beautiful, weren't they, Ella? Mm-hmm. She's got to say that. I did exactly the same sort of thing, but I did it with some cocoa powder instead of flour, and I did it a couple of times. These will only need once, but you can do it a couple of times if you want with the butter. I'm going to put them to one side. I will do the little ones first. So all I do, bit of plain flour. Oh, that's a bit too much in there, but it doesn't matter. And all I'm going to do is just start moving it around the side of the tin. If you can see the tin moving, that's what's meant to happen. And hopefully, just give it a tap and get rid of the excess. And in there, I don't know if you can see that now, we should have the whole of the tin that has been covered in butter and flour, and that will stop the cake sticking to it. Now I'll do one of the big ones. I'm not going to do it all so you have to see it. So put the flour in the big one. Same sort of thing. You can tap it if you want, let it move around, get the bottom bit done, and then start doing your edges. Now put your other tin under it, or if you're on your last tin, a plate under it to catch your flour. Give it a tap. Make sure you've got it all the way around. I'll just put my finger in it there, so not too much flour, because you don't want a mouthful of flour. And there you go. Once again, we've got a tin now that is non-stick. It's going to save you on paper, great for the environment. Bit of butter, bit of flour, get it round there, and that hopefully won't stick. So tins are ready now, got them all floured. Another little tip that you can use is if you're going to do quite a few of these, you might be having a big party when we come out of lockdown and we're all safe again and everything's fine in about a year's time, but hey, is you can mix your flour and your butter, your margarine together, equal amounts, and then brush it in. You can do that as well, that'll work equally as well. It's a bit gloofy, but hey, it works. Okay, so I thought that as I just finished mixing this. So I've mixed it up now. Look at how it's a lot lighter, a lot whiter, not as yellow. It'll come out the light, it might be a bit better. And what I'm going to start doing now is adding the eggs one by one. Now I can get a spoon out if you want, but why wash up? Tuck your spoon in, and if a bit more goes in, it doesn't exactly matter. So I'm going to put them in there. Got my first egg, and I'm going to start glooping it, and this is where it starts looking a bit. Yeah. And all I'm going to do now is start binding these together. Now, it might go a little bit curdled, because what happens is the eggs are at room temperature, the margarine or the butter is a little bit chilled, and that's fat. And they might start to look like they're splitting, and if they do, we can add a spoonful of flour to it as we're mixing it in. We don't add too much in. So there's my first egg in. Now what I do, and it's something that again has been drummed into me over the years, is just scrape the bowl down. Make sure all the bits and pieces are off the edges. And we're doing that because we want to make sure that all the ingredients are mixed and combined. Now that will mix in. Now I'm going to keep adding an egg to this, an egg at a time, and then so you'll see how it works. Take long, and then we'll come back to it after I've added the fourth egg. Okay, fourth egg in, mixed in. I've added a touch of flour, just a spoonful of flour as I was mixing it, because it was looking like it was going to start splitting. It will do that, like I say, if it's cool. So what I'm going to do now is add the last egg, and as I do that, I'm also going to add the flour. Now I'm going to sieve it. You could have sieved this before, it wouldn't have hurt if you had, no problem there. So I'm just going to, it's going to like it's smashed then. And with mum just coming home, I'd have been in trouble there, wouldn't I? So I'm just going to sieve it. Hold your hand, just shake it against your hand so it sieves through. Do it whichever way you want. Make sure you get that through, and you're just making sure there's no big lumps of flour going in there. And then you're just going to start mixing that through. Now at this point you could have added any of your flavours. I'd recommend you add them at this point, because now you've got your flour in there, the last thing you want to be doing is mixing it too much.
So flavours, obviously we've got vanilla. You could have put some vanilla essence in there, vanilla extract. If you've got a vanilla pod and you're a bit lucky to have something like that, you could have put your vanilla pods in there. Lemon zest, orange zest, any flavours, any colours, add them in there now. Just be careful adding too much colour, because you know, if it's a water-based one, it can start just, sorry, I'm going to do the edge as well. You can just start to water it down, and it might become a bit runny depending on how much you put in. So I'm just going around the edges there, get all that. If you wanted a chocolate one, obviously you can add some cocoa powder in there. You can add some melted chocolate as well. So I'm just gonna now give that a beating for about 30 seconds a minute, just to make it nice and smooth. But yeah, you can add your cocoa powder in. If you're gonna add any cocoa powder in there, just add a little bit of liquid, so the same amount of liquid to cocoa powder. Because cocoa powder, it just sits in your mix. It does colour it, it does flavour it a bit. A lot of people will say take some of your flour out, some of your self-raising flour, and replace it with cocoa powder. You can do that with pleasure. Obviously it's not quite Victoria sponge, it's a chocolate sponge. But it's entirely up to you what you make with it. You can do what you want, can't you? So, there it is. Mix through. Don't over mix it. We aren't beating air into it, whisking air into it, so we're not knocking air out of it. But we've got it mixed. We want it mixed thoroughly. We don't want to over mix it, otherwise it starts getting all tight and then you'll get a cake. It's just horrible. So what we're going to do with it? Well, we definitely want 5 puddings for tonight, don't we, Els? We definitely want a Victoria sponge that we can have tomorrow afternoon when we get home from works and teas and all that sort of thing. And whatever we've got left, we'll put into there. So, we'll come back in a second and we're going to put something in the bottom of there that'll make it absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so in our pudding that we're going to have for our tea tonight, we're going to put some flavourings in, and we've come to get the syrup out of the cupboard. I don't know what I'm pointing over there for, the cupboard is there, but you don't need to know that. We've not got a lot left, so we're going to put some jam in as well, and I know you're thinking, jam again? Well, I like the jam in this house, and we've got raspberries outside, so we make it. So what I've done, just to get the bottom, if you like, out of the syrup, I'm hoping that you might know this, I've got some hot water in a pan. I haven't turned it on, I've just got it out the kettle, and just to get the bottom of it out, that shouldn't be hot, but that might be the bottom, and it just liquefies it a bit, so I'll probably get about 2, maybe 3 out of this. About, and it depends, you can put as much as you're wanting, about a spoonful of syrup in the bottom with each one. I'll get 3 out of it, and I'll just start tipping it in. I'll be a bit of a, again, don't want to waste it, and that then when it bakes later on will be beautiful. And what we'll do is we'll film that in a bit, because these, as I said earlier to you, are for our tea. A bit in there, wipe it all off and get it in there. I'll just get rid of that a second now, I'll be 2 seconds, give me a quick swill, get the syrup off. They're looking alright. And then these 2 are going to be jam, raspberry jam, any jam you want. As I said earlier, the other day, lemon curd if you want, or any other curds, anything, doesn't matter. Put what you wanted. You don't have to have anything in, by the way, either. This just is something that when you tip it out, it looks lovely, and it's a bit like the old school puddings, if you like. It's a jam sponge, but it's just from this mix. So, let me just get rid of these a second, Ella. Out of the way. We're going to make sure that we've got some in there. Now, you don't have to. You can just put a blob in, but you can, if you want, also weigh it. So then you've got no arguments about who's got the biggest and who's got the smallest and mine's bigger than mine. So all I'm doing is I'm just going to put my tin on. I've what we call tare it, T-A-R-E, or zeroed it as it says on these scales. So it's no grams. And then I'm going to fill it about 3/4 full with this. And all I'm doing, getting a spoon and I'll just blob it in like that. That looks about right. 65, let's go up to 70. And then every one of them now should be about 70, 71. So if I do that, oh, that's on board straight away, look at that. So I can get about 70. You can, if you're skillful enough, and you've got piping bags, of course, pipe this in. You can put it in with your hands. For those that are a little bit naughty, 2 grams, so -2. Ooh, look at that mess, sorry else. Damn it. Doesn't have to be exact, look at them, because of the weight of the jam in there. 10 grams over. You could of course use a bigger spoon, that might have helped as well, mightn't it? There we go. Knock them down on the tray just to flatten the touch. I'm going to put them to one side. Now I'm going to put them in the fridge in a little bit, but if you're going to have these for tea straight away, you can put them straight in the oven, there's no issue there, but we're going to put them in the fridge just so that they're A, out of the way and that they're keeping cool. And I'm going to do exactly the same with the Victoria sponges now in the tins. I'm going to weigh those. So you haven't got one that's that thick and one that's that thin, if you like. So, and you can pick up your bowl. And put in there just a bit. Tell you what, there's not going to be any. There's not going to be many. See what? I'll put 300 in there. There's not going to be many fairy cake thingies, but hey ho. Doesn't matter, does it? Not there a sec. In fact, Ella. $300. Well, I'm not going to make any fairy cakes today by the looks of it because there's only that much mix. So I can make some more, but we're going to have a Victoria sponge anyway. So what I will do is I'm going to share that between the Victoria sponges. And all I do with the fairy cakes, exactly the same as I did for the puddings. I'll weigh them out, put them in, pipe it in, whatever it is, into these tins. Exactly the same mix. So I'm sorry you're not going to get to see them, but hey ho, this is the most important bit. Now, if you haven't got a scraper, you can use the back of a spoon just to push it around the tin and just try and flatten it off. It doesn't have to be exact. Oh, and can you see how it's, as I'm pulling it against that, it's just pulling away from the sides, and that's because it fits like a grease proof. Push it around the edges. And there we have it. No waste. Sorry else, you ain't gonna have to lick the spoons or anything like that. And there we have those. I'm going to put them in the oven now. Put them in the oven, 180 for about, let me just wash my fingers a sec. 25 minutes. You'll see in a lot of recipe booklets that they'll say stick a skewer in, but we'll have a look at them in about 20 minutes time, 25 minutes. So over to the oven we go. You come in. Can put them on a tray if you want to, don't have to. I'm going to put them in. There you go, in the top. Nice oven. Close them up. We'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I ran out of mix as you saw, so what I've done, I've just quickly whipped up another smaller mix so I can show you what these will look like, and then we're going to make some buttercream, very simple buttercream afterwards, and pipe that on top. I'm going to show you, if we've got enough parchment, how to make a piping bag. because I know that you all want our pipe bags. You can buy them in all the cook shops, you can buy them in supermarkets. You might not want to because they're plastic. I'll show you how to make one out of greaseproof paper. And of course you can still buy the nylon ones that we used to use years ago. So I'll mix it, get my spoon again, get my cupcake case. If you've got big enough scales you can put the tray on and then individually do it. But I'm not going to, I'm going to do it this way. Now I've got about 400 grams of mix here. So I get about 40 odd grams. Now you can put as much as you're wanting. 45 grams I'm going to go for here. But as much as you're wanting, the more you put in, the fuller they get, obviously. Some people like them a little bit, about halfway up, and then it doesn't get to the top of the case, and then you can just flood a little bit of icing into it, as opposed to piping icing into it. Everybody's different, it doesn't matter. This is how we're going for it. We're going to get about 10 here. Look at this. I'll take this up as a professional. And then as soon as these are in, as you can see, we're using up the cup cases as well, the cupcake cases, muffin cases. So we've got different ones, the usual sort of home sort of thing. All sorts of weird and wonderful ones you can get. Sure, after VE Day on Friday there'll be lots of Union Jack ones around and about here to use. 9 cakes by the looks of it now. So again, use your scraper, scrape all the bits down the edge. Into there. Not going to be enough for another one, so we'll just get that mix. Nowhere near enough for another one. So we've got 9 fairy cakes out of that, and a little bit of mix in the bottom of there. Just the camera person. Now before you put it into the oven, any spillages, ideally just give them a quick wipe up if you can. And then that's not going to bake on the tray. And there we have them. 9 fairy cakes, muffin cakes, whatever you want to call them. Plain simple, pound all round, going into the oven. Okay, buzzer's just gone off for the Victoria sponges, so let's have a look at them. We've got the cupcakes at the bottom there. Now I'm going to pull this out slightly, and you can put a skewer in there, a knife, whatever. If you just press it, it shouldn't spring. It should spring back and it shouldn't sink. So they're ready. Now I'm going to take them out because I don't want to leave the oven open on too long. I'll keep the heat in there for those. And there we have them. So let's just take it over here else. Now I am going to leave them in the tin for a couple of minutes because they're red hot, as you can imagine. So as I say, just press it down. You'll see that it's lovely. And it just comes away from the side as you touch it. So we'll give it a couple of minutes, then we'll tip them out to cool them down, because the last thing I want is them sweating away in those tins, becoming all soggy. Okay, so these tins now have cooled down enough for me to handle them. If they're too hot for you to handle them, obviously use a tea towel or whatever. So I'm just going to take them out, tip it out, and I'm going to turn them back over so that the bit that you don't see is on the bars. So there's a bit of an indentation, it'll be on the bars. Now if you like the indentation, you can put it the other way around. So they should just tip out nice and easy, and they're on there like that. Now we're going to let them cool down completely, because we're going to put some jam in it and we're going to put some fresh cream in it. Else, fancy a bit of fresh cream in it? Yeah, so we'll whip some fresh cream up, put that in it. If you're the WI, I know you don't want
fresh cream in it, but we like it, and it's our cake, so we're having it that way. We're going to check the little sponges now. So into the oven. You will see it's a real working kitchen, there's bits everywhere. So there they are, look at those, hour 9. I did turn them round about halfway through baking. Just come out a touch there, but look at that. Again, just pressing them down and you'll notice that they won't sink in. So, over to here. Now I am going to take these out. Again, I can pick them up. If you're not sure, let them stay in there for a bit, just so they cool down. So they're all going to cool down now nicely. And what we're going to do with those, we're going to mix a bit of buttercream. We're going to put that on top. I'm going to show you how to make the piping bag in a bit, but let's let them all cool down now. And Ella is going to have a brew. Okay, cakes are out, cooling down, not far off now. So I have whipped a bit of fresh cream up somewhere for the Victoria sponge, which we'll look at in a minute, but I need to make a bit of buttercream now. Buttercream recipe. Can't get it off the wall else. Is 5 ounces of butter, about 8 ounces of icing sugar, and a splash of milk. That'll just help soften it a little bit. Now obviously you don't have to make as much as that. You can make smaller amounts, but that's about the recipe. It's about half butter to the icing sugar. Now what you need to do really is get your butter as soft as possible, and you need to use butter here, not margarine. If you start using margarine, then it should be called margarine cream, as you can imagine. You've got to be really careful, because icing sugar, as light as it is, will go everywhere. So just start mixing it in, and once you've got it, you can add a little bit of milk now, but you're really adding your milk just to make it more of a consistency that you're able to pipe or spread. Don't look like much at the moment, does it, Ella?
No, mate.
Oh, see, that's how easy it is. If you're doing it on a mixer, some of the funniest incidents are where people just leaving mixers on high speed, go to mix it, and there is icing sugar everywhere. Of course, I'm too professional to laugh at things like that, and I would be really worried about them. So it's starting to come together, and once it does, you can start beating it, but you see I am getting a bit harder with it now because the icing sugar is getting soaked into that butter. Now again, we want it as light and fluffy as possible, so normally I would be doing this in Connie in the corner there. She's looking a bit forlorn, poor lass. She's not been on lockdown. It's just so I know that you guys haven't got a KitchenAid or a mixer like that. So Connie's just sat in the corner. Every time she sees Ella with that camera, she thinks, yeah, I'm going to be redundant at the minute. But so, starting to come together now. I would say it's starting to look a little bit more like buttercream, but it's not. Bit at a time. So we're getting a bit of a lump there now. So we've also removed it. And now you can start beating away as much as you want and as hard as you want. So you do want it quite light. Now I can add my milk now. And just when I say a splash, if you want to, you can put it in a jug first. You can put it into the cap first. Put a splash in, just so that you don't over tip the milk. There's not a lot in there, but this will just almost soak into the icing sugar, and it'll start making it a lot easier. Now, obviously, if you are dairy intolerant, then obviously you wouldn't use your butter, you use some sort of veg alternative. And because it's soft, the butter had softened it earlier, it's a lot easier to beat up. If it's rock hard butter, you'll be here forever.
just get me scraper that I washed earlier when we're doing the cakes. Scrape down them edges again. So it all incorporates. Again, you can add any of your flavours in that you want to at this point. Your vanillas, your buttercream. You are adding a vanilla essence. Remember, it is liquid, so it can affect the consistency. But any of your colours, you can add them in. Oh, sorry. Wrapped up, didn't you? So, I think we're alright there. Again, you can beat it up and make it as light as you want. You can see how it's gone nice and white there, is that? You can see the colour of that house. You can see with that light at the moment. And I've got icing sugar all down me just to prove that, you know, it's real. So, it's still slightly warm, so I'm not going to do anything with them, but what I'm going to show you in a minute is how to make a piping bag out of greaseproof paper. See you in a moment. Okay, so to make a piping bag, you get yourself a piece of square parchment. It doesn't have to be exactly square, it can be rectangle, it doesn't really matter. And we're going to fold it into a triangle-ish shape, and that's not exactly fair, square, can't even say it. Fold it at the edge, and I'm getting a knife, and I'm just going to run along it, but you can use scissors for this. Just run along it, and those of you that are eagle-eyed will probably say I should have cut away from myself. You're absolutely right, but I didn't. So I have got the first of the triangles. Now we're doing it from this angle simply because if I did it the other way it'd look a bit daft. So I'm right-handed. I'm going to show you the right-handed way. If you're left-handed, Google it, because I'm not sure how to do it left-handed, because I've never done it left-handed, because I've never needed to. So with, if you like, the longer edge of your triangle here, I'm going to grab the corner. Can you see that? If you got that one else, the corner up here, I'm going to grab this corner, and as I pull it down, I'm just going to twist it slightly, and I'm going to let it meet the bottom corner, even though that has been taken off. Then this other corner is going to wrap around all the way to meet the other two corners. And what I can do now is hold it together, and I'm just going to manipulate it. So as I do it, can you see the hole at the bottom here? The hole at the bottom just goes smaller, so I've got a very thin point. Now it won't matter too much if you don't get it like that and your hole does look a bit like that, because we're going to make a bit of a snip in it in a minute, and then we're going to pipe into it. You don't have to make a piping bag. If you get frustrated with this, leave it alone. You can buy them. For the purpose of what we're going to show you to make, you don't need a piping bag. But I'm going to show you two different ways. Now you've got your piping bag like that, and all you're going to do is fold over the edges into there so that it doesn't fall apart, and there you have a piping bag ready to pipe. Now that's not the biggest. Obviously the bigger the square or the triangle, the bigger the piping bag. That's not going to be the biggest, but I'm going to be honest with you and say that's all the greaseproof paper we've got left. So it's getting a bit desperate here, isn't it? So there it is, a piping bag. I will show you again so you pick it up, but I'm going to do it a bit speeded up. So get the corners like this, fold and twist. Now I twist it once and bring it to meet the corner. Fold the other one over so it comes to the corner there, can you see? And all I'm doing is I'm just pushing and pulling and pushing and pulling with my fingers underneath, thumbs on the top, just to get that point a little bit more pointy, and folding them over to hold it in place. And there we have our piping bags. Okay, let's assemble our Victoria sponge. So we'll take one of the one half, turn it over so we've got a flat edge, and put it onto your finest bone china. As you can see, we've got ours out here. It's one of our plates, so it's just a random plate. And I've got a nice flat edge there. There are ridges in it, as you can see, from the cooling wire, or in this case our grill tray. But that won't matter because we're going to cover those up in a second. Now, if you've got a palette knife, brilliant. If you haven't, the back of a knife will be fine. Don't go out and buy one just for the sake of it. Bit more jam, because as you know, we like jam in this house. What I'm going to do, put a bit of jam on the base. A lot of jam on the base. And I'm just going to spread it. Spread it to the edge. Doesn't matter if it goes over the edge. Put more on if you want, put less on, doesn't matter. Now again, WI regulations at any show will say it should only be a jam and it should only have jam on it and a certain amount. Put your top on, that would be a classic Victoria sponge. Bit of ice sugar on top, caster sugar as they put on. But I'm doing it my way. Fresh cream, a little bit of ice and sugar, just whipped it up just to get it nice and into a peak. Two ways of doing it. You can either put the cream straight on top of there and spread it round, or you can put it on the top if you like and then flip it over. A little bit more jeopardy in that. So I am just going to get some cream and just quite simply dollop it on. Who doesn't love a bit of that? And just spread it round a touch with the jam being underneath it. I'm going to save a little bit of cream for after. And again, it's your Victoria sponge, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. A little bit of cream, and I'm just going to lean over Ella and just grab the other one. So again, I'm going to put the bottom on there like that. And I'm going to get a spoon, touch of ice and sugar, and just go over it with a bit of ice and sugar. Don't waste it, save it. And there we have your Victoria sponge. Now I'll cut into that, shall I? Just so we can see what it's like. Classic way of putting your ice and sugar on, of course, is getting your old doily, putting it on and spreading it on and getting your doily shape, but we're not. So let's cut into it and see. And as you find, the cream will start coming out the side, but hey ho, cut into it, saw into it because it's still very fresh. Ideally, you can keep this for a day. Look at that coming out the side. And as you, oh, look at that. How does that look, Ella? You getting hungry now? Let's turn that a touch for you. So I'm going to be honest. I am going to be honest and say it could have been done with a bit lighter, a bit more beaten up before, but that's me trying to get it out for you. So there we have our Victoria sponge cream. Victoria sponge. Perfect for afternoon tea when you're inviting all your friends round once the lockdown's over. But at the moment we can't. Let's do it virtually. I'm going to put that to one side for now. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of different ways with the fairy cakes. Got the buttercream there. I have got a piping tube, a fluted piping tube. I'm not going to use that today. If you've got one, brilliant, you can use it. It just makes it look a little bit starry. If we've got a little bit of buttercream left and a couple of buns, I might just show you. So, a couple of things I'm going to make. First of all, remember butterfly buns from our youths? I can show you to make them because we have got a bit of an eruption there. So I'm just going to cut a little bit of it off. If you're doing this, kids, ask your mum and dad to do this. Again, it should cut away from you. We had 9, didn't we? So we'll do 3 of each, I think. Should cut away from you, but I'm in control. So you're cutting the top off. Now you can spoon the buttercream on there. I'll show you how I would do it. You take a little teaspoon. Doesn't have to be perfect. If you want to, you can get a bit of warm water. If you wanted to, and make it look a bit smarter. Who cares? I'm now going to pipe a bit in. So what I'm going to do, get my piping bag, get a blob of buttercream. Hopefully this is going to go in. I'm going to put it in. Can you see how it's in there? Hold it over so it doesn't come out the top. So the last thing you want to do is be pressing down here and it all coming all over your hands and looking a mess. I need some scissors. And I'm going to snip the end off there. So I've got a big hole in the bottom. Now again, I'm right-handed. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the bag, hold the bag, and if you want to you can hold it that way. But I'm going to press using these fingers down into here. And this thumb is just holding it in place really. And I'm just going to press a blob on. More than that perhaps. Like so. I'm going to cut that in half. And there are the butterfly wings. So the butterfly cakes. Remember those, Ella?
Mm-hmm.
Little butterfly cakes. We'll cut them, and this is the one that we've just spooned on, but you know what? It doesn't look a lot different because you cover it in that, and you know they won't last long enough for people to worry about what they look like. What you could have done, got another bag and put something inside it, some sort of chocolate filling, or you could have piped in a little bit of jam like a donut. These ones, I'm going to press down a touch, so I'm going to do 3 more. And these are just going to have, I'm hoping, and they will have, a blob of icing on them. So I'm just going to pipe this. Oh, it's not a bag here, it's not looking brilliant. Now to get a bit more in, open it up again and just get yourself a bit more. I need a bit. As I said, these bags aren't the biggest, but they'll be alright. But as you can imagine, they will in time. So that didn't look brilliant, that one, but so I'm going to pick it up to show you. You can just blob on and allow it to pipe like that, and you've got a blob. Or as I did with the other one, I'm going to take that off. Actually, it's a bit too high. A little bit. We'll have that in a minute else. You can either start from the edge there, or start from the middle and work your way out. And pipe, oh, enable, pipe that on. If you want to, you can get yourself chocolate Malteser, you can get yourself something orange egg, you can do whatever you want and put a little decoration on top of it. Spin some chocolate, doesn't matter. And I am going to show you what it looks like with the spirally bit. So, it's brilliant in this bag, but anyway. So I've cut a hole big enough to let the end of the nozzle come through, but obviously not too big to let the whole of the nozzle come through as you press it through. So you can see in there, it's just sat in the bottom there. I'm going to get me the rest of the buttercream, and there is a little bit in this piping bag. That lot in a minute and just use it if need be. Can get a bit messy, but hey ho. And what you'll see is a little bit of difference in these. So they look nice and plain, so I can either blob it on and it comes out almost star-shaped, or just like I did before, start in the middle and work your way around. It's going to move around. Okay, so it is 24 hours later than 2 minutes ago on the video, but hey, there you go. Simply because we were on Zoom calls and all that sort of thing. So we're having our pudding on the Monday night instead. So these have been in the fridge for 24 hours. They should be absolutely fine to do that. You can freeze these if you want to as well. But I am going to put in the bottom of here just some water, plain water, cold water, just in the bottom of there. And I'm doing that because the jam and the syrup at the bottom are full of sugar. And if we put them straight in, they will start burning. We don't want that to happen. So the water will protect them from burning. And then obviously we've got a lot of sugar in the cake as well. But the sugar in the cake, that'll be absolutely fine because it's designed to bake like that. So just a little bit of water in the bottom. Make sure it doesn't run dry though. So about, well, just a little bit at the bottom just to cover them. So we're going to stick these in the oven, 180 now, for approximately 15 to 20 minutes. So I'll just put the timer on, and then we'll check them in 15 minutes, and then we'll see what they look like. We'll see in a bit. So they've had just over 15 minutes, about 18 minutes altogether. So if Elliot, you want to come along, obviously they're hot. There they are, still a bit of water in the bottom of them. So look at them, they've risen up nicely, a bit of colour on them. And if I just press down on them, they're not sinking in, they're nice and springy if you like. So I'm take them over here. Excuse the mess. As I said, we are back to a little bit of normality. Now, there's going to be a bit of, let's call it jeopardy here, as to which is which. One sec, one sec. So, what I've got in here, all I'm going to do is take them out, obviously they're hot. Just run a knife around the edge of it. If you want, you can put your plate up like that. And I'm going to lift it off. And in there, we've got some golden syrup. That's looking good. I'm just going to scrape the rest of the golden syrup onto it. Like that. Which one do you reckon else? It's going to be a jam one just so we can see a difference. I'm going to go for that one. Don't know why. Should have marked them. Again, just loosen them up if you need to. You can tip it like that. And Mr. Morris. Oh, sorry, I dropped my arm. Leave my arm in the way. And there's your jam one. What are you having, Ella? Jam or syrup?
Syrup, please.
You're having syrup and you like a bit of cream, don't you?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do for Ella, again with our really expensive cream jug, going to pour some cream on it. She loves her cream. There you have syrup sponge and creamy. Haven't steamed it for 2 hours, you just baked it. It does need eating today. What I'm going to have on my raspberry jam one is some custard. Now I haven't made creme pat or creme anglaise, it would be lovely. I've just got some good old Bird's custard. Tablespoon of custard powder, tablespoon of sugar, mix them together. A little bit of milk, take it from half a pint, the other rest of the milk. Warm it through till it's nearly at boiling point. Pour it into the jug. Mix it together, then back into the pan, warm it through until it thickens. And that is your cream. And there is custard and jam sponge. And in the background you'll see a half-eaten Victoria sponge that we made yesterday that was eaten today as people were coming home. And we've got some of the cupcakes that we made yesterday, knocked them up, and they are looking fab. And that is our Victoria sponge recipe that we made. 3 different items from it. Absolutely fantastic. Remember, we can put any flavourings you want into those to change it round. So, let's see some of those recipes. Good luck with it, and I'll see you all soon.